very, very invested in our community.
It's wonderful to be here.
This is Vinney Chopra and also my good buddy Olsen. And we are so happy.
It's amazing what's going to happen. So, we amped up to do the show, and we got a lot of hype about the guest today, so I'm excited.
I know. So excited to come live to you all. Live 9:30 every Friday. How to take your business to the next level. All right. So, Beau, maybe we should get it cut in half, brother. What do you think? Sorry,
Yeah,
everybody joining us. Thank you. This is Vinney and
I
Beau
like the
Show.
intro.
It gets us going, that's for sure.
I loved it. Yeah, I'm all pumped.
Thank you, Alex. It's so exciting. We come live to right from the Bay Area and from Nevada. 9:30 Pacific. It's a Vinney and Beau show. We started a couple of years back, and we keep on doing most of the Fridays, almost every Friday. The key thing is we bring great guests to all our audiences. Please let us know where you're from and the city you're from, and you could ask our guests questions. You can ask us questions. I'm a syndicator. I raise lots and lots of money, buy multifamily apartments, hotels, build senior assisted living, into Bitcoin mining right now, and a lot of great things. So Beau is into mortgages and just a tremendous, consultant in commercial mortgage and all. And today we have Alex Olson, who is a great guest. Beau is going to introduce. Alex, how are you, brother?
Doing awesome, man. Love to be here.
All right, guys. So Alex this is a great, because we haven't really spent a lot of time on the show to talk about 1031 exchanges. Alex helps facilitate the process. He's a commercial real estate broker and has helped people that are looking to transition their money from one asset into another asset by deferring taxes. So we're going to learn about the process of 1031 exchanges. You got X amount of days to identify, all that stuff. So I know a lot of people out there. I think Vinney actually is doing a 1031 exchange right now for his hotel. So he's frantically trying to close, and so we're going to talk about this today, and that's great. So Alex and his partner Logan Freeman, they have a real estate brokerage called, their website is exchangecre.com. And they've really, I first found Logan. Logan does a great job on LinkedIn. He's everywhere. And Logan really, you guys are like true deal finders. You guys are like out there that they know everybody in their market. They're in Kansas and the Missouri markets. It's really where they're focusing their brokerage business. And to be a good 1031 agent, you got to be able to find deals quickly when people are looking, because people are stressed out. And we're going to dive deep. Alex is a multifamily agent in Kansas and Missouri that he actually works with buyers. That's amazing, because he understands the tribulations that buyers have, right? But also for buyers, Alex, as if we jump into this today, like, to be a good buyer, right? Like, you want to work with a good buyer that respects you. And there's certain buyers that you're like, probably you don't want to work with. And then certain buyers that you're willing to like jump through hoops for, because they're going to be a great client, and they listen to you and they do the things. So welcome to the show. It's exciting to have you. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure, Alex.
All
Can
right.
you give us a little bit background, if you don't mind? And you're in Kansas City. Can you give us quick, rundown how you got into real estate and this profession? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. 1,000-foot view. Basically, I actually fell in love with real estate when I built our dream home. Sounds a little bit weird, but I always had a passion for finance and personal finance. And when you're building your dream home, you got to do construction loan, you got to work with contractors, you got to do all those different things. And then, oh, by the way, after we completed our dream house, we had a bunch of equity built in because we did such a good job of building that house. And so I took that money and took out a line of credit and invested in 4 or 5 properties across Kansas City. And then it was like, okay, well, shoot, I've been looking for a new job for 15 years in my personal finance background, and met a mentor actually cold calling, trying to buy this guy's property. He said, hey, look, I really like what you're doing. Let's meet up. So he kind of mentored me. He owned, 50 houses in a little pocket. And he's like, go on and get your real estate license. And I said, okay, I don't want to deal at all with single family homes. He said, no. Be a commercial broker. So I did actually. And then I met Logan Freeman. Logan recruited me over to the first brokerage I was at. And I would say that I'm really blessed to be in a market that's cash flowing here in Kansas City and has some good other attributes such as, low tenant great landlord friendly laws and low taxes, that it's been a great opportunity for me to grow as a real estate broker. And Logan had the same passion I did, which is helping buyers get into the real estate world or upgrade their real estate wealth transactions. And with that, then we decided that, hey, look, 1031s are always hot. And, oh, by the way, the buyers have a deadline, as you know, Vinny, that they've got to go and complete within a certain amount of time frame. So that's how I got into this business. That's how Exchange CRE came about, was really focusing on the 1031 exchange buyers. And, that's kind of where we're at.
So can you guys walk us through the process of a 1031? Is it, so I have let's just use Vinny as an example. I have a hotel. I just crushed it on. I'm going to sell it. There's a lot of equity that I created, and I don't want to pay tax on it right now. I want to defer the taxes. And so how many days, I got my property under contract that I'm selling, how many days do I have to identify a replacement property? How does this all work?
So from the day you close your down leg, so in Vinny's example, his big hotel, awesome hotel, the day he closes that, he has 45 days to identify up to 3 properties.
Correct.
Once that 45-day window is over, you're paying taxes on all of your capital gains. So that's the first day rule. And even though you've identified those 3 properties or 1 property within that 45-day period, you still only have 6 months to close out any of those properties from the moment you close. So really, you're looking at 45 days is your first kind of window, but then you got to go back and really close that out within 6 months. And it seems like it's a long period of time, but as Vinny would probably tell you, sometimes you're like, oh, shoot, my first one dropped out, my second one dropped out, my third one, the seller's messing around. Now I'm kind of in a hole here to get this all closed out within 6 months. So it is a tighter timeline, but if you're familiar with it and you're working with good people, you can get it done.
So where are your investors? So are you getting a lot of people that are calling you frantically from, let's say, California or wherever? They want to move their cash, their equity somewhere, and right now they're coming to places like Kansas City and so forth, right? I mean, are you seeing a lot of out-of-state investors 1031ing into your market now?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of California investors, Denver, Seattle, Dallas, all coming into where I'm from here in Kansas City, and looking at cap rates, looking at cash flow, as Kansas City is a pretty good market for that compared to, of course, where, the prior places we just mentioned. And they're selling, duplex, 5-plex, 12-plex, whatever it may be. Actually, we have a lot of people even recently here coming from Utah, where they're like, man, Utah market is crazy hot and can't cash flow. And so they're taking their, 10 units that they had in Utah, selling those, 1031 exchanging into 20 units into Kansas City to restart the depreciation clock, upgrade their cash flow. And that's kind of the advantage that we see a lot of times with what's going on.
What are the rules around like changing if, for example, like if Vinney wanted to 1031 his hotel into some other asset class, is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to 1031 into like raw land that I'm going to develop, can you do
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So you can as Vinny knows, you can come in and out of any different asset class. So you could own farm ground, actually,
Yes.
sell that farm ground and invest into apartments. You could sell apartments, invest in anything you want. The other thing you can do is you can take your investment and it's come in and out of any state. So the 1031 exchange tax code, IRS tax code, is actually a federal tax code, IRS code. So it has nothing to do with the state you live in. So that's another interesting thing. Vinny, are you coming in and out of different asset classes with your hotel, you think?
You know, the one that I'm doing right now, we are selling one in Texas, 1031, one hotel, and then buying 3 hotels out of that 7.5 million, what's that? The 1031 money, my other partners. So you're right. Yeah, we are in Texas and Virginia and Tennessee. So we are splitting, that one 1031 into 3 different hotels.
So Vinny,
That's
your
what
equity on that was 7.5 million after you sell, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
so,
right.
so now, so then on a 1031 exchange, I know there's something called boot, right? Like if you got to have enough,
Correct.
you got to, so basically you need a bigger loan, and you got to, so
Then
you're going to take that 7 million, give or take, and you're going to put 2 million, a little over 2 million on each of the new assets. And because you're going into 3 hotels now.
3 hotels. So we are actually bought it for 6, I think, 6.3 or something, and selling for 12. And then our equity was in there too. So that's why it's 7.5 as an example. And we are buying $45 million portfolio of 3 hotels. So we'll, go way past, the limit of the boot and everything. Yeah.
I mean, I look at 1031 exchanges as like, I mean, that is like, why wouldn't you 1031 exchange? There's like no reason not to, unless you're in certain syndications, you can't 1031 exchange like the way they're structured. But for somebody that like this hotel where it's more of you have a couple partners, it's easier to transition. And then, that's a huge taxable consequence if you weren't in the 1031 exchange.
That's so true what you're saying, Beau. Can I interrupt? I mean, the thing is, it has to come as a tick, for syndications like I've been doing, 39 of them now. It's that when you syndicate a whole deal, it's hard to get 1031 money unless it's 500 or a million and a half, because they need to own a portion of the whole apartment complex or whole portfolio, let's say, because it has to run itself right there, because they don't have a lien on the rest of the property, but they own ownership percentage wise whatever we talk about. So in this hotel deal we have like 7.5 our own 1031, another 1 million 1031 is coming, another 500 is coming, but we do 500 minimum, Alex, in our case. So we are able to see how much that will be owning the whole portfolio of 3 hotels, and the rest of whatever is left will be syndicating it. Oh, I just wanted to mention that. So syndication portion is only for the portion of the whole portfolio that is not taken away by the ticks.
Oh, interesting. I mean, Alex, the 1031 exchange is really, in my mind, is like like just what Vinny, he had a $12 million asset. Now he's going to control 50 million in assets, right? Like the 1031 exchange is like it's the gasoline to get you to extract a lot more cash flow. I look at some people, like they have, like in California, they have like a duplex, and it's like they have $1 million of equity sitting there, and they're getting like they're netting only $2,000 a month. I'm like, take that $1 million, go to Kansas City or wherever, right?
Yeah.
1031 exchange that, and you could, instead of getting $2,000 a month, you could have like $10,000 a month of cash flow. It blows my mind that people don't think like that, and it's like the number one tool.
Yeah, here's what I would also say about it too is you've got this 1031 exchange as basically a free upgrade, where you're able to defer all your taxes into another asset class. So one of the things that I would say is exactly like you're talking about. People get so caught up in, well, I don't want a 1031 exchange right now. Cap rates are compressed. I'm like, forget about the cap rates when you're doing a free exchange of money where you're able to take exactly like your example, Beau, is your $1 million duplex or whatever it is, that you can take all that money, all your equity, and buy something else. It's going to cash flow a heck of a lot better. Oh, and by the way, instead of owning 2 units, now you own 20 or whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
And your depreciation starts over, and your taxes aren't impacted, and you've got more cash flow and you've got more stability. So there's so many advantages of a 1031 exchange. It's not just about, oh, I can't find a replacement property. Well, that's what we do here, is help you find that replacement property. Our sweet spot is really $1 million to $10 million is what we help people get into. So they might have $1 million in equity or something like that, or maybe it's 3 million, that we're then able to help find them their entire system here, like their property manager, attorneys, all your whole shebang. Local lenders are very important, especially in that price range. And I think that's what also a lot of people have fear about as well. I don't know that market, or I don't know how to get started in that market. And so finding a local broker that does work with buyers is very important. And you can build trust with them, and the key to that is just having an open conversation with those guys and gals to make sure that you're getting what you need out of a broker relationship.
Alex, I have a question. So we can 1031 from one deal to next deal to next deal to next deal. Can we do it like within 6 months, or maybe after a year? It's a long-term capital gain. Otherwise, it's short-term. But then you could do it. And could somebody just never pay taxes? That's the question sometimes is asked by my students. If you die and it's 1031 and given to your heirs, and it steps up in its value, kind of explain that. Could you explain?
Yeah. So that's another great point, is especially as you get older in age, you're like, well, shoot, man, I've 1031 so many different times. I have no idea. My tax burden's got to be crazy if I die. Well, the thing is when you die, your tax burden on that is completely wiped out. You're back to the normal basis of all those depreciated assets and all the, over the years. So your heirs actually get, to start over on what tax basis they would start at. So that's another great advantage for, when your family, planning, I guess, so to speak, and you get older in age, or maybe, you've got a terminal illness or something bad going on, but you shouldn't. The good news is you don't really have to worry about burdening your family with additional taxes by 1031 exchanging if it dies with you.
Correct.
So that's great information. So ideally, if you're thinking about selling and 1031ing, really you should start the search before you get your property under contract. Like that's the best way, because I've run into people and they're so frantic. They're calling, hey, do you know I'm selling my property in California and we need the 1031 exchange. And they're calling every broker in town all over. Like, I'm looking at Texas, I'm looking at Florida, like they're looking everywhere. And I think it's just be proactive on the planning and start the search way in advance. And then as soon as that would make more sense. Because you can do a reverse 1031 exchange, I guess, right? Like you could identify the property first, and then
There's all these different ways to do it. I think, especially if it's your first one or your second one, I always like to keep everything as simple as possible. But you're absolutely right. The first thing you do is you say, hey, look, I might sell this property. Either as I start getting offers on it, definitely want to start thinking about what kind of property I want, need, and equity I have. Where am I going to upgrade? You start that process early. Once you get your property under contract, then you're even in a more serious stage of, I need to identify at least the market I'm going to be in, or markets. And then once you're past due diligence, in my opinion, what we teach our clients is, once you're past due diligence, your money's hard, or their money's hard, the buyer's money's hard on your property. Now you can go start putting in letters of intent on these other properties. And, you can kind of, I wouldn't say slow play, but you can work the system a little bit and really kind of get comfortable in when your property is going to close. we've done a lot of deals exactly like that, where a client comes and, hey, look, I'm going to sell this property soon. Okay, great. Let's start doing some soft letters of intent, start feeling out the market for you. Okay, now you're past due diligence. Okay, let's see if we can maybe get this under contract here soon, depending on when it closes. Okay, now we're very confident it's going to close. Everybody loves, the down leg, the property they're selling. So now we can actually get you under contract or dang close by the time your property closes, and therefore have a very high likelihood that your number one property choice is going to be past due diligence before your even 45-day window is up. And if you get that far, you're well ahead of the game, and you probably have a great property that you're going to 1031 exchange into to, upgrade your wealth. And that's the ideal kind of situation.
That's
Alex,
cool.
can I ask you some questions I've been asked before? How about if I want to buy a gas station or a truck stop, right? It's a business. Can I buy just the business, not the real estate with 1031?
No, you cannot. You have to buy. You have
Yeah.
to buy the actual real estate. You cannot buy,
Yes.
a business. That's why you talk about the syndication deal, right? In that you're kind of more investing in a business or whatever. Whereas you have to own the real estate. Now, there is probably what you're alluding to. There are some, mineral rights play within, if you're looking at oil, natural gas, it's really you're buying land though, but there's mineral rights involved with that. You can exchange into that if you're buying the actual real estate. So you have to go in and out of real estate. You can't go out of a REIT or into a REIT. It's got to be actual real estate owner through whatever your business you had. If it was in your personal name, you actually have to exchange into your personal name. If it was in your business name, you have to exchange back into that business name. And there's all sorts of things that your qualified intermediary that you're going to have can help you with. Which is another key important point, is having a good qualified intermediary. Anybody can be a qualified intermediary. A qualified intermediary holds your funds when you close, so you don't touch them. So if you have to set up a 1031 exchange before you close. If you've already closed on your property you're selling, game over. You're paying taxes on that. But I highly recommend having a really experienced 1031 exchange qualified intermediary. We are not, and you actually don't want your agent or your broker to be a qualified intermediary, because you don't want them to hold on to your money, because it's kind of a conflict of interest.
Yes.
But there's a lot of really great 1031 QIs out there that, they do thousands of them a year that, can take and handle your money. And they also will help you at all the little details of, well, can I do this? Well, can I do that? That, are not super common, but they have experience in that.
Sure. So, for example, when we are buying this 1031 into a real estate and a business, so as to speak, it has to be together, because multifamily, as you know, rental is the business. It's the real estate plus the residents in the property, which bring the revenues and expenses and NOI and everything, right? So what you're saying is that even in the gas station, you have to own the gas station, the real estate, and the business part, because that's what is bringing its value to the highest potential. And that 1031 amount, that boot and everything, like we discussed before, it has to make sense with the total picture, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. You got to buy it all. And a lot of this, again, comes into, speaking to your qualified intermediary with the little nuance of questions that, somebody may not know, but you want to make sure that you've got your ducks in a row on that, because, what's at risk is taxes. And by the way, there's no, way of skirting the 45-day window. I know we've talked about this a lot, but I want to be clear, because I've had people come and say, hey, look, I'm going to be out of the country for 2 weeks, and that's going to be during my 45-day window. I said, well, too bad. IRS doesn't care. It's 45 calendar days. They don't care if you're in the hospital. They don't care if you've got, some kind of disease, whatever it is, they don't care. So, there's certain rules that you just can't bend, and that's definitely one of them.
So is it from the sale, you could even specify 3 properties before the sale is done, also, right? That 45 days can be before that date of closing or after that date. So then you get almost 90 days. A lot of people start looking at these assets. They want to convert that 1031 into even before the sale is finished, right? So
Right.
there is that limit. Can you kind of expand on that? So we could earmark 3 properties, but we don't need to give it to the intermediary until the 45 days after the closing, which you're saying. Okay.
That's right. And usually your qualified intermediary will allow you to change. I actually recommend for our clients, if you've got 2 or 3 properties, get them to your QI like,
Yeah.
now, because what happens if you get into a car accident or something and your 45-day window comes up and you forgot, or some emergency, there's no reason to put that at risk. So at least get 3 properties in there, or 1, well in advance at any point in time. But yes, you can change those at any point in time, all the way up until that 45-day. Oftentimes with a great qualified intermediary, maybe even 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, which we've seen people do. And
Yeah. Or Hawaii
okay
time,
with it.
11:59 Hawaii time. That's 3 hours even further this way.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you've got a QI that you've got and understand the hard and fast rules of when he or she's gonna allow you to make those decisions.
You've given so many great nuggets, Alex. That's so great having and hanging out with us today. Any pitfalls can you tell our people watching? Or this will be a podcast also, by the way. This is Vinney and Beau Show you're watching and you're listening to. And we do a podcast also out of this show, Splice and Dice. And it's live also right now, going through YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, different pages all over. So, no, thanks for coming. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Any pitfalls?
Yeah. You asked about pitfalls. I think some of the pitfalls is when you first start out and you're doing this is you're looking really, really hard for that unicorn, that home run. I want to buy, maximize every single thing I can. And what I always say with the 1031 exchange, you don't need to hit a grand slam. You don't need to hit a home run. Go out there, find a really nice single, a really nice double, get some, keep getting more points on the board. You're not going to win your life with a 1031 exchange, but you can add value with, to your life. So that's the biggest pitfall is people, get so hung up on finding that perfect deal. 45 days come around. They're upset. They didn't find anything. Oops. Now I'm just so upset about it. I don't even care. I'm just going to pay taxes. And I've actually had not really my clients do that, but kind of prior pseudo clients say those kind of things because they didn't really have people pushing them enough to just make that commitment. So that's the biggest pitfall is, you can go in there, even if it's not your favorite property, buy that property to avoid those capital gains, defer them, and you can exchange out of that into something else. So at no point should you really even have to, pay those gains. You can defer it by buying something that's not your favorite. But you can, start the process over again. I know it's stressful, but, depends on how much money it means to you, I guess, or at least paying the government money is really what it's about. So that's the biggest pitfall.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Beau. Yeah, bud.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's being strategic. What I'm hearing is a lot of people aren't strategic with their 1031s. They kind of like it's a secondary, like, oh, I got a 1031 and they're already way past where they should have started. So I think 1031 exchange planning is like the big piece of this to make the best financial decision you can and not be in such a rush. And I don't know why people put themselves in those positions. I grant they get a great deal and they have to sell, and I get it. But I think if you reach out to the right brokers, they're going to give you good guidance. You're going to get started sooner rather than later, identify the properties, and make a much better investing decision. Alex, where's the best place for people to follow you?
Yeah. Follow me on LinkedIn. Alex Olson, A Olson. I'm all over the place. You'll see my face. I don't post content nearly as well and as much as Logan Freeman does. But most of my content's all about multifamily in Kansas City and a lot about 1031 exchanges. So hit me up there. Of course, my website, exchangecre.com. And you can email me at alex@exchangecre.com.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Alex, for spending time with us. And thank you, everybody, listening and watching us. And please reach out to me, Vinney Chopra at vinnychopra.com, or Beau Eckstein, my brother right there, beaueckstein.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. Oh, actually, next week, Beau, you'll be doing the show, brother, because I'll be in the airplane on Friday. So, brother Beau will be here. And thank you again for watching, and take care.
See you guys.
Morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining this morning. This is Vinney and Beau Show. Some of you might know me, Vinney Chopra, and my partner, Beau Eckstein. And we come to you live at 9:30 Pacific, which is 12:30 Eastern, every Friday. Thanks for joining.
And I think, Vinney, honestly, we at some point we're going to start a affordable housing multifamily division underneath Monale Investments. I'll run the division. We'll have a nonprofit component, and we'll help.
Wow.
We could probably help this in a big way, really.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah.
It's been an exciting week. I hope it's been for you also. Beau, you have some questions, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of questions.
How are you, brother?
Good to see you, Vinney. Good to see you, Beau.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We are so privileged to have you.
Hey, Vinney, real quick.
Yeah, bud.
All right, I'll bet you sushi that you don't know that. What does SAS stand for?
Hi there, everybody joining us, watching us. We are live in 7 channels actually today, in the YouTube, in LinkedIn, in Facebook groups and Facebook. Thanks again for liking the show. Please give comments, share, and we are here for a very big show